What's up guys, and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel covering the Ultimate Infantry Guide. In this chapter we'll be covering the Heavy class. This 200 HP unit actually picks a bigger punch than you guys know of, especially when playing the objective in game modes revolving around it, such as Galactic Assault. Recently I've had a ton of feedback from you guys, from previous guides and commentaries. Thank you guys for sticking with me so far, and I appreciate the support with all the recent videos. I've begun to structure all of my guides, so initially we'll be covering the Heavy's abilities in this video, followed by what weapons to use for the Heavy class, with the ideal star cards that actually conclude the video towards the end. I'm actually going to include all the timestamps down below, so feel free to actually click on them. But with all that out of the way, I'm going to get straight into the video. We're going to be starting off with the Heavy's abilities. The first ability is the Impact Grenade. This heavy duty impact grenade actually explodes on impact and varies on damage the more you directly hit. This grenade can be upgraded into a Mark II impact grenade through the use of an improved impact grenade star card, which allows it to increase the blast radius of the explosives as well as decrease the cooldown. The Heavy's middle ability is the Sentry ability. As you may have guessed, this ability brings range to the class, where you may have seen the Heavy's main blast doesn't have that much range to it. This ability has a little to no damage drop off at range, so you can literally sentry people from across the map, and that sounds as fun as it is. Who doesn't want to be that guy who brings into a minigun into every fight? There are 3 different star cards that upgrade the Sentry ability for the Heavy, starting off the Mobile Sentry that upgrades the earliest for you. This star card trades damage output in the Sentry for mobility and is used the least out of all 3 star cards. A more powerful version of the Sentry is the Supercharged Sentry that adds a small explosive blast in each laser. And the last is the Explosive Sentry, and this has a significantly lower rate of fire but increases the damage output. Whereas you sacrifice all of your mobility, all of these star cards reduce the cooldown of the ability, and both the Supercharged Sentry and the Explosive Sentry's blaster bolts cannot be blocked by a force user, and making it useful in tackling them while they're blocking. The last ability for the Heavy is the Combat Shield, and its most deadly offense and defense both at the same time. This ability covers your head and torso while giving you the ability to hip fire your gun, leaving only your legs exposed. This weakness can be quickly eradicated by crouching during this animation, which turns you into basically a Spartan shield. It's a lot more intimidating than it actually sounds. Trust me, I personally have been on the receiving end of a level 4 combat shield, and it is not fun whatsoever. You honestly find yourself with a no counter. It's very useful for newer players who find it hard to aim, as it significantly increases the time to kill for your opponent, giving you that time you need to finish them off. You may have actually heard me speak about it, but you can actually improve your combat shield and give it more HP. The shield health actually increases to 300, plus the 200 HP that I actually have as a Heavy, giving you 500 HP in total, making you an absolute unit with no counter whatsoever. With all the abilities out the way, I actually want to brief on the weapons. All the weapons for the Heavy are actually really good, with TL50 conquering them with both attachments, reduced recoil and improved cooling. Now the DC-15 and the FMW-10K are solid weapons that pack a more range than the TL50, but the size of the mag, rate of fire and time to kill of the TL50 just make it a superior weapon. I definitely recommend getting the 400 kills with the TL50, and it is one of the best CQC weapons in the game, for sure. If you guys actually wanted to know more about the weapons side of things, the DC-15 LE is the first weapon you unlock at 50 heavy kills. To unlock all 3 attachments, reduced recoil and improved range and explosive shot, goes from 25 kills to 75 to 150. As with all attachments, remember that this isn't eliminations but kills, so assists aren't included. I equip both the reduced recoil and explosive shot attachment for this weapon. The second gun you unlock is the FWMB-10K. The range and damage of this gun is the best in the Heavy class, but its rate of fire is pretty slow. I use only the auto cooling attachment for this gun. This weapon definitely depends on the environment. If you actually need the range for this gun, I'd definitely equip it. Alright, in this section of the video, I'm going to be talking about the star cards. I'm going to start this section off with my current build. That goes as follows: Defender, Bounty Hunter, and Survivalist are all the star cards I currently use. I tend to actually switch this up when I need to destroy vehicles to Ion Turret, Explosive Sentry, and Ion Torpedo. This is very useful for killing MTETs, AT-ATs, and ATM-6s. I definitely recommend it in Galactic Assault during those phases. Now to explain what each of these star cards actually do, we're going to start with those unique to the Heavy class, and then lastly our universal star cards that are available in every single class that we'll be running through later in the video. First up is the Defender star card, where you gain a small amount of score for each hit that you take. This is really good for Heavies since they have 200 HP, so they can gain battle points as quickly as other classes such as Assault and Officer. You may have heard me say it earlier, but there's actually a star card called the Ion Torpedo that fires a missile that tracks locked vehicles and deals high damage. This is very useful for taking out AT-STs and any other tanks or starfighters. Remember, you only have about 3 shots in the magazine of this Ion Torpedo, so you must use it and not miss like at all. It takes quite a while to lock as well, so make sure you guys keep that in mind when you're shooting at AT-ST. The following star card on the list is actually the Detonite Charge. This replaces your impact grenade and is a manually detonated explosive. You may have seen Han Solo actually use this, but he throws it a lot further than you do. But this is pretty useful when you're actually trying to use it as a trip mine. It does do about 300 damage, and it's very useful for taking out heroes and anything else that's very tanky. Next up is the Barrage star card. This is basically your simple noob tube. It has 3 different grenades that vary in damage, and it's very useful in certain choke points. And it's usually mainly Heavy's go-to star card, and it replaces the combat shield ability. So if you're trying to go fully offensive, this is a very good star card to use. Next up is the Ion Turret. The Ion Turret is actually a similar version of the Ion Torpedo, but it does less damage and it's highly effective against vehicles as well. When paired with each other, it becomes a deadly combo. That's actually the last of our unique star cards, and you may have noticed that I missed a few star cards. These are universal to every single class and they're usually found in the top segment of the boost cards. And you may be asking what makes this different. To begin with, there's the Brawler star card. When you defeat an enemy in melee combat, your abilities refresh and you gain a small amount of health. It's up to 100. I definitely wouldn't recommend this star card as you don't find yourself in melee combat range very often. So you end up getting yourself killed if you actually try to engage an enemy in melee combat. But one star card that I would recommend is Resourceful, where all of your abilities have shorter recharge times. This helps for infantry classes such as the Officer, who rely on their abilities to actually succeed and support their teammates. And this 28% increase in recharge time actually comes in huge. Later on in the list, you find yourself with the Bodyguard star card, where you take reduced damage from explosions and toxins. This proves to be useful in choke points where you have a lot of explosive spam, such as Camino Phase 1. So if you are struggling there, 30% decrease explosive damage comes in huge, but with most grenades on Camino first phase being flash grenades, it doesn't seem to be doing too much damage. So I wouldn't really recommend using this star card apart from in certain situations. It doesn't really come in very helpful, especially when there's better star cards to actually run most of the time. But one star card that comes in very helpful if you find yourself dying very often is the Survivalist star card, where your health regeneration delay is shorter than normal. And it goes up to a 40% regen delay reduction. This comes in huge for classes like the Heavy, just because they actually have 200 HP to begin with, and it takes a while for them to regen every single one of those 200 hit points. One star card though that is absolutely vital for every single class is the Bounty Hunter star card, where you gain battle points at an increased rate. At purple, this is actually 20% increase. And this is probably why you notice yourself being at a disadvantage when trying to get heroes, because people may have the same amount of score as you, but they have a lot more battle points. I.e. in game modes such as Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy, you may find yourself without a hero even though you have more kills than the person with a hero currently at the start of the game. The 2 last star cards that we're going to be covering in this universal set of star cards is the Marksman and Expert Weapons Handling. These both come hand in hand as they both reduce heat. The Marksman star card, for starters, is a star card that applies when you defeat an enemy with a headshot. You get 40% heat reduction, which is very helpful when using snipers such as the NT242, as they have low magazine sizes and headshots one shot. Next is the Expert Weapons Handling star card, where your weapon cooling success states are actually longer. This is the yellow bar on your weapon, allowing you to have the yellow bar for 66% increased duration, so you don't need to reload as often. This comes in very helpful when actually playing the objective and shooting at it for a long period of time. Alright, that's going to conclude our universal star card set and actually conclude this video as well. Thank you guys for all of the support, and if you guys have actually lasted towards the end of this video, make sure you let me know what you thought of it. Feedback definitely helps within this channel, and if you did like it, make sure you guys leave a like down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next guides. I'm planning on doing a few more, so stay tuned for that, as well as some normal content for later.